Right now, as you're watching this, there are 7 diseases eating away at your future. Not in your body, in your mind. And the worst part, you don't even know they are there. You think your circumstances are holding you back. You think it's the economy, your boss, your lack of opportunities. But what if I told you that you've been slowly poisoning your own mental factory every single day? Your future is being destroyed from the inside out. These aren't external enemies. These are attitude diseases that have infected your thinking so deeply that you mistake them for reality. 7 silent killers inside you. Indifference, indecision, doubt, worry, overcaution, pessimism, and complaining. Most people have all 7, and they wonder why success keeps slipping through their fingers. As the ancient wisdom teaches, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. What you put into your mental factory determines what comes out. And if you're dumping garbage in, you cannot expect gold to emerge. Today, we're going to expose each of these killers. And more importantly, we're going to show you how to eliminate them before they eliminate your dreams. Indifference. The first silent killer is the deadliest because it disguises itself as peace. Indifference. That numb feeling where nothing really matters anymore. You tell yourself you don't care about money. You tell yourself success isn't that important. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Indifference isn't wisdom, it's a defense mechanism. The opposite of love is not hate, it's indifference. When you stop caring, you stop trying. When you stop trying, you stop growing. And when you stop growing, you start dying. Think about it. When did you last feel genuinely excited about a goal? When did you last wake up with fire in your belly? If you can't remember, indifference has already taken root. Caring is strength. Neuroscience shows that apathy literally shrinks the prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for planning and achieving goals. The more indifferent you become, the less capable your brain becomes of pursuing success. You're not being cool or detached. You're sabotaging your own neural architecture. The wealthy understand something critical. Passion is not weakness, it's fuel. They care deeply, intensely, obsessively about their vision. And that caring is what separates them from the masses who shrug and say whatever. But indifference is just the beginning. Because even when you start to care, another killer is waiting. Indecision. The second silent killer has paralyzed more dreams than any external obstacle ever could. Indecision. You know what you should do. You've known for months, maybe years, but you keep waiting. Waiting for the perfect moment, waiting for more information, waiting for certainty, waiting, and while you wait, life passes you by. Studies from Columbia University reveal that the average person makes over 35,000 decisions per day. But here's what's fascinating. Successful people make decisions faster and change them slower, while unsuccessful people make decisions slowly and change them fast. A good plan executed now is better than a perfect plan never executed. Every moment you spend in indecision is a moment your competitors are taking action. Every opportunity you analyze to death is an opportunity someone else seizes. The fear of making the wrong choice keeps you from making any choice at all. But here's what nobody tells you. Not deciding is a decision. It's a decision to stay exactly where you are, to let circumstances choose for you, to hand over your power to randomness. Decide now, act today. As Napoleon Hill wrote, opinions are the cheapest commodities on earth. Everyone has a flock of opinions, but successful people reach decisions quickly. If this pattern of analysis paralysis sounds familiar, hit like and subscribe to reprogram more of these success blocks, because the next killer might be the one that's truly holding you back, and it works hand in hand with indecision. Doubt. The third silent killer is the voice in your head that whispers you're not good enough. Doubt. Not the healthy questioning that leads to better decisions, but the chronic, corrosive doubt that eats away at every dream before it even begins. You have an idea, and immediately doubt says, who do you think you are? You see an opportunity, and doubt says you'll probably fail anyway. You almost take action, and doubt says, but what if it doesn't work out? Your own mind becomes your worst enemy. Here's what psychologists have discovered. Doubt doesn't protect you from failure. It guarantees it. When you doubt yourself, Your brain literally reduces blood flow to the regions responsible for creativity and problem solving. Your body releases cortisol, the stress hormone, which impairs your cognitive function. You become physically less capable of succeeding simply because you doubted you could. Self-doubt is learned. You weren't born doubting yourself. Watch any toddler, they try to climb everything, touch everything, explore everything without hesitation. That fearless confidence was trained out of you by well-meaning adults who taught you to be careful, to not get your hopes up, to be realistic. Belief creates reality. As Henry Ford famously stated, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. But even when you conquer doubt, another killer lurks in the shadows, ready to steal your peace. Worry. The fourth silent killer has you living in a future that doesn't exist yet. Worry. That constant churning in your mind about things that might go wrong, problems that haven't materialized, catastrophes that exist only in your imagination. Worry is like paying interest on a debt you might never owe. Research from Cornell University found that 85% of what we worry about never happens. And of the 15% that does happen, 79% of people discovered they could handle it better than expected or learned valuable lessons from the experience. That means 97% of your worries are completely pointless mental torture. Worry steals today, but it's worse than just wasted time. Chronic worry activates your amygdala, the brain's fear center, and keeps your body in constant fight or flight mode. Your immune system weakens. Your sleep quality plummets. Your ability to focus on productive work evaporates. You're literally making yourself sick and stupid by worrying. The wealthy don't worry less because they have fewer problems. They worry less because they understand that worry is not preparation, it's paralysis. Worry never robs tomorrow of its sorrow. It only saps today of its joy. Action cures anxiety. Planning replaces panic. But sitting there imagining worst-case scenarios, that's just volunteering to suffer twice. Your mind creating prisons from thin air. And speaking of self-imposed limitations, the next killer takes a different approach to sabotaging your success. Overcaution. The fifth silent killer wears the mask of wisdom, but is really just fear in disguise. Overcaution. That excessive need for safety that keeps you trapped in a comfortable prison of your own making. You want to start that business, but you need just a little more savings first. You want to make that investment, but you're waiting for the market to stabilize. You want to pursue that dream, but maybe next year when things are more certain. Someday is not a day of the week. It's where dreams go to die. The biggest risk is taking no risk at all. Studies on regret consistently show that people don't regret the things they did nearly as much as the things they didn't do, the risks they didn't take, the words they didn't say, the dreams they didn't chase. On their deathbeds, people don't wish they'd been more careful. They wish they'd been more courageous. Safety kills dreams slowly. Yes, calculate your risks. Yes, do your research. But understand that waiting for zero risk is waiting forever. The most successful people in history weren't reckless. They were calculated risk-takers who understood that growth requires leaving your comfort zone. A ship in harbor is safe, but that is not what ships are built for. You weren't built for the harbor either. But even when you finally set sail, another killer is waiting to poison your journey. Pessimism. The sixth silent killer doesn't just affect your mood. It rewires your entire perception of reality. Pessimism. That persistent tendency to see the worst in every situation, to expect failure, to anticipate disappointment before it even arrives. Pessimism is the thief that steals your future before it happens. You call it being realistic. You call it preparing for the worst. But here's what neuroscience reveals. Your brain has a negativity bias, and pessimism amplifies it exponentially. When you expect bad things, your reticular activating system, the filter in your brain that determines what you notice, starts highlighting every piece of evidence that confirms your negative expectations. You literally become blind to opportunities while becoming hyper-aware of obstacles. The pessimist and the optimist live in the same world, but they see completely different realities. And because your actions follow your perception, the pessimist creates the very failures they predicted. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Expect failure, get failure. Martin Seligman's research on learned optimism demonstrates that optimists outperform pessimists in virtually every measurable domain: health, wealth, relationships, career success. Not because they are naive, but because optimism creates resilience, motivation, and the willingness to keep trying. The pessimist sees difficulty in every opportunity. The optimist sees opportunity in every difficulty. But even optimists can fall prey to the final killer, perhaps the most insidious of all: complaining. The seventh silent killer is the most socially acceptable form of self-destruction. Complaining. That endless stream of grievances about your boss, the economy, the government, traffic, whether your family, your circumstances. Every complaint feels justified. Every grievance feels legitimate. But here's what you're really doing: programming your brain for more of the same. When you complain, your brain releases cortisol and reorganizes itself to make complaining easier and more automatic in the future. You're literally training yourself to focus on problems instead of solutions, on obstacles instead of opportunities, on what's wrong instead of what's right. Complaining attracts more problems, and it's contagious. Stanford research shows that exposure to 30 minutes of complaining actually damages the neurons in your hippocampus, the part of your brain used for problem solving and intelligent thought. You're making yourself and everyone around you less capable of success. Complaining is the ultimate form of powerlessness. Think about it. When you complain, you're announcing that you're a victim of circumstances beyond your control. You're declaring that you have no agency, no power, no ability to change your situation. Every complaint is an abdication of responsibility. Any fool can criticize, condemn, and complain, and most fools do. The wealthy complain less not because they have fewer problems, but because they understand that energy spent complaining is energy stolen from solving. But knowing these killers isn't enough. The question is, what do you do about them? The mental factory. Here's the truth that ties all 7 killers together. Your mind is a factory. Every thought, every attitude, every habitual response is raw material going into that factory. And what comes out, your life, your results, your reality, depends entirely on what you put in. Garbage in, garbage out. Gold in, gold out. If you're feeding your mental factory with indifference, you produce a life of mediocrity. If you're feeding it doubt, you manufacture failure. If you're dumping worry, pessimism, and complaints into the machinery, you cannot be surprised when your life looks like the product of those ingredients. The ancient philosophers understood this. The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. Modern neuroscience confirms it. Neuroplasticity proves that your brain physically restructures itself based on your habitual thought patterns. You are literally building your future brain, and therefore your future life. With every thought you think today, thoughts become things. The wealthy guard their mental factory like Fort Knox. They're selective about what information they consume, what conversations they engage in, what thoughts they allow to take root. Not because they are naive or in denial, but because they understand the profound power of mental input. What raw materials are you feeding your mental factory? The cure. So how do you cure these 7 diseases? Not with affirmations, not with positive thinking alone, with ruthless awareness and deliberate action. 1. Replace indifference with passionate engagement. 2. Replace indecision with rapid action. 3. Replace doubt with evidence-based confidence. 4. Replace worry with preparation and presence. 5. Replace overcaution with calculated courage. For each killer, there's an antidote. But the antidote requires conscious effort, daily practice, and the willingness to catch yourself in the act. Start by becoming hyper-aware of your own thought patterns. Notice when you slip into indifference. Catch yourself in indecision. Observe your doubt, worry, and pessimism without judgment, then consciously choose a different response. Awareness precedes change. Create mental triggers. When you notice yourself complaining, stop mid-sentence and ask, what am I going to do about this? When you feel worry rising, ask, is this productive or just mental torture? When doubt whispers, ask, what would I do if I knew I couldn't fail? Watch your thoughts, they become your destiny. The transformation doesn't happen overnight. But every time you choose courage over caution, action over analysis, optimism over pessimism, you strengthen new neural pathways. You're literally rewiring your brain for success. And there's one final piece to this puzzle: the daily practice. Knowledge without application is worthless. You now know the 7 silent killers. The question is, what will you do starting today? Successful people do daily what unsuccessful people do occasionally. Here's your action plan. Every morning before you check your phone, before you consume any external input, spend 5 minutes consciously programming your mental factory. Declare what you will focus on. Affirm what you believe about yourself. Visualize the success you're building toward. Morning sets the day. Every evening, conduct a mental audit. Did indifference sneak in today? Did I let doubt run the show? Did I complain instead of create? Not to beat yourself up, but to become aware and adjust tomorrow. We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit. Surround yourself with people who embody the qualities you want to develop. Your environment shapes your thoughts more than your willpower ever could. Find the doers, the believers, the action takers, and let their energy infect you. Remember, these 7 killers didn't take over your mind overnight, and they won't leave overnight. But every day you fight them is a day you're building a richer, more dynamic, more successful life. The mental factory never stops producing. The only question is what you're feeding it. You came into this video thinking your circumstances were holding you back. Now you know the truth. You are the factory. You are the programmer. You are both the problem and the solution. Indifference, indecision, doubt, worry, overcaution, pessimism, and complaining, these aren't just bad habits. They're mental diseases that poison everything you try to build. And most people have all 7 and never even know it. But not you, not anymore. Now you see them. Now you can fight them. Now you can choose what goes into your mental factory instead of letting garbage accumulate by default. Your mind, your choice. The wealthy aren't wealthy because of luck or connections or talent. They are wealthy because they guard their mental inputs with fierce intentionality. They refuse to let these killers take root. And now, so can you. The mind is everything. What you think, you become. If you made it this far, comment mental factory to prove you're among the few who will actually do something with this knowledge. Your mind is either programmed for success or failure. Now you know how to reprogram it. If this video exposed something in you, subscribe. There's more to uncover.